idealism prevails.
Make the world a better place.
So, Mr. Szarka, nice to have you here. You're from Hungary. You're working in Hungary, and you're from the Hungarian Academic of Science. Yeah. So, what exactly are you working on? So, what is your field of science? Your field of what are you specified at?
I started my career in 76, long ago. I started in electromagnetic geophysics, in investigation of the solid Earth, so below the surface, the crust, Earth's crust and mantle, the lithosphere, And later I became the administrative head of the whole Hungarian Academic Research Network, and became Director General of one of the research centers of the Hungarian Academy of Sciences, Astronomy and Earth Sciences. And now I'm retired geophysicist. And now I can focus freely, really, and have time to work on the most important issues, scientific issues, where the earth science plays a very important role, and it is the climate science with the energy dimensions.
Mm-hmm. So can you give us a hint of what exactly you're working on? And so just to explain it to someone who is not so much into science, maybe, so that everyone can understand what exactly you're doing and what you found out. So what's your biggest finding that you had in your career or still?
First of all, I read all important scientific papers, and I make my own conclusions, and also I work on several issues, like that instead of climate models, which are myths, according to me, we should study and accept healthy doctrines. And the forecasts, for example, should be based, instead of models, on real data. So I think the real data are of primary importance. For example, in the beginning of this year, we published together with several other Hungarian geophysicists a paper about the water level variation of the river Nile, in Egypt, based on measure on water level data. They started to measure it 622, and the end of the databases is 1921. So it extend to 1300 years. And though this unique long data series shows how the water level of river Nile varied to 1,300 years. And you can see persistent decreases, persistent increases for several decades. From one year to the other, the minimum water level can be very variable. It was very important quantity for the people there, because the taxes was decided according to the variation of the water level. If the water level were high, the taxes could be higher. If the water level was lower, then the agricultural products were less available, so the taxes were lower to the people that time. So it was a very important quantity. But the water level variation provides information. It is a very important climate information, because the catchment area of the river Nile is huge. So it reflects directly the precipitation variation. in the catchment area. So it is an important climate indicator. And this climate indicator shows cycles in the water level variation up to 400-year cycles. So if you have a 1,300 years water level variation, you can already discover, 3 times maximum and 3 times minima. Of course, from year to year, they may be random, but if you make an average curve, it shows exactly. If you make a Fourier spectra of the data, you can see evidently a cycle about 400 years or 11 years according to the solar cycle, and other climatic cycles have been detected. So the conclusion that we cannot make any prediction from model data, climate model data. We should learn from the past, from real exact data, and make conclusion for the future. So the climate can vary in any way. There are shorter cycles, longer cycles, and today's the temperature is higher, but we do not know how long it will remain and when we will go to another interval.
Okay, so are you saying that like our humanity impacts this like climate and also the level of the water in the sea and also in the rivers? Is there an impact on that from your research?
No. It shows that the human impact is very, very small, and we neglect the past variations of the climate. So the mainstream hypothesis states that the climate behaved this way, was constant, and the human being increased the temperature. This is the mainstream idea. But instead of the I think that it should be forgotten, completely forgotten, because the climate has very deep variation also in the past. And the nature is working, has been working for billion years, and it will work in the future too. So human cannot do anything against it.
So are you saying that we shouldn't also restrict flying, for example, like flying with airplanes or riding our cars? Does it have an impact in reducing that, or?
The conclusion, one of the conclusions is that the human anthropogenic climate change argument of the green transition is invalid. This is the direct conclusion. But of course, the environmental damage exists. But the only remedy is not it is not the decarbonization. Okay? It is not to abandon energy sources, because the civilization depends on energy. If we give up energy, we give up civilization. So the only remedy is the temperance. Okay, temperancia in Latin. So we should not consume so much. Okay, a bit less, moderately, but the planet Earth is large enough and rich enough for 8 billion people or 10 billion people. There will be no more people than 10 billion. It will be decreased in a few decades. So we have enough resources, both in agriculture and mineral. And what they are forcing now with the green transition is much more harmful to the nature than the present practice. We should moderate a little bit the present practice, and we should not change for green transition solar and wind, because it needs much more mineral resources, maybe 20 times more mineral resources than the present practice.
Do you have an explanation why we always talk about climate and climate change instead of environment and environmental destruction?
The first problem, what does it mean, climate change? Okay. Climate change, according to the World Meteorological Organization, is the long-term statistics of weather, decade or longer. In 1992, the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change introduced a completely different other definition for climate change. They excluded the whole nature from the definition of climate change, saying that climate change is caused by human being by altering the composition of the atmosphere. So they restricted the definition, and the whole nature was sent to the so-called natural climate variability. And now they try to convince us that the natural climate variability is zero. Okay? But it is not true. This was directly demonstrated by, for example, by this river Nile water level data. There are huge variations. But also I can bring up other examples. I was co-author of a few papers together with Willy Soon and other people about the solar correspondence between the solar activity and the temperature time series, and shows the same. The message is the same. The humanity plays a minor role, and the role of sun and other natural forces cannot be excluded.
So, like one last question maybe. Do you think that the climate agenda we're on at the moment will endanger our wealth and our lifestyle that we're having at the moment?
Yes. It is the most dangerous agenda, the climate agenda, I think. The assessment report number 6 of IPCC, Intergovernmental Committee of Climate Change, was issued in 3 years ago. It was issued 3 years ago, and they state that the present climate change is unprecedented. So there has not been a similar climate change, but the answer is but has been many times and will be, independently of people, and they also try to convince us that the present climate change is because of the human being, and that is simply not true. And using this argument, they not only want to take away our energy resources, real energy resources, but also they want to destroy the agriculture, for example, and with saying all the times is the propaganda of climate and emergency, less and less young people want to become parents. And this is a huge problem.
So many problems that are intertwined, so to say, or manage.
Just an empty slogan, the CO2. And people, this is the problem, that people do not understand it. But it's simple enough that think they understand something, but not. So that's why I read a lot of scientific papers. I put together the results, and now I'm convinced that the climate change agenda is just a dogma, and we should turn our attention to the real causes of climate change. But this is a very interesting scientific problem. So it should remain in scientific frames. and we should abandon the climate propaganda. There are good signs. For example, the European parliamentary election results say that not so many people are for the green policies. So we should work in this direction to open the eyes of people.
Thank you very much. And
thank you.